Hey guys, Danny here. A lot has happened over the last few months, and this is my letter of the heart trying to kind of summarize all of that. As most of you are aware, after 11 years of being together with Alyssa, we got married at the end of April. So we started out, my parents had actually arranged for us to have a limo pick us up at our house and take us to the airport. It was really silly, but it actually proved to be super valuable because we had more luggage than we could carry or fit in an Uber. So it was actually nice to have the added room. And from there, we went to Playa del Carmen, and it's about a 4-hour flight. You go into Cancun, and from the Cancun airport, they take you by private shuttle to Playa del Carmen, which is about 40 minutes outside. We stayed at an all-inclusive resort that Alyssa had found, and it was absolutely beautiful and fantastic. There was about 30 people there altogether for our group, so it was very small, very intimate. Just made up of pretty much all friends. The only family that we had go for either of us were both our parents and our siblings. So outside of that family, it was all just friends, so it made it absolutely perfect. We got to really relax and party and have a good time with the people that we love the most, and it just couldn't have been better. It did take a couple of days to kind of acclimate to what an all-inclusive resort is. And once I did, I loved it. And so if you have never done an all-inclusive resort, I highly recommend it. So we got married on a Friday and we had the rehearsal on a Thursday. The rehearsal was really funny because everybody was on the beach drinking, having a good time. Everybody was asking me, like, when's the rehearsal, where do we have to be, and I had no idea. I was totally worthless when it came to information, so much so that I didn't even tell one of my groomsmen when we were supposed to meet until 2 minutes before, and he missed the rehearsal. It was awful. But it was a lot of fun because we were just chilling on the beach, and the rehearsal ceremony was actually right next to where we were chilling on the beach. And so we were all in bathing suits, lined up in our spots, and it was just drinks and cocktails in hand. It was very kind of surreal and hilarious. The day of the wedding, I took all the groomsmen and we got massages at the spa there, had cocktails of course and food. And as we were getting ready for the ceremony, we noticed the weather was starting to change, and we had been watching it kind of all week, not sure what was going to happen because we were, in the Caribbean and subject to weather, and it just started getting darker and darker and windier, so we were kind of going at a rapid pace to try and get the ceremony in before the storm hit. And while we were at the ceremony, the storm just came blowing through, and it was so windy. Fortunately, it didn't rain quite yet, and we were able to get through the ceremony, but it was super windy. The officiant of my wedding, Jeremy, he almost lost his paperwork that he was trying to read off of. And of course, after the ceremony, that's when you're supposed to start working in photos. We almost didn't get to do the photos, but the rain did eventually let up, and we got some really cool shots with the clouds in the background, and it just made for a really exciting ceremony and exciting wedding day. Looking back on it, at the time it was really stressful, but looking back on it now, had it been perfect, I just don't think it would be as memorable. And Alyssa and I can now look back on it and kind of laugh about how absurd everybody's hair and just outfits looked, and it was a lot of fun. On Sunday, so we got married on a Friday, hung out with everybody on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Alyssa and I left on our own to go to Tulum, which is about another 40 minutes outside of Playa del Carmen. So about an hour and a half outside of Cancun, and this is where the Mayan ruins are for what is called a mini moon, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's like a short honeymoon. We stayed in this really cool little boutique hotel where there was only 6 casitas. Right outside our hotel was the restaurant bar. The food and the cocktails were amazing. The service was awesome. And the beach couldn't have been nicer. We had a private chef tasting dinner that was purchased for us by one of our friends, and it was authentic Mayan food and Mexican food, and it was absolutely amazing. We actually ate bugs during the private chef tasting. We had crickets, and if you've ever had crickets, they were very crunchy and a bit of a smoky flavor, followed up by grubs or worms. If you've ever seen The Lion King, you know, when Timon and Pumbaa are eating all the grubs, it was very similar to that. And they were very kind of juicy, so you bite into them and they almost pop in your mouth.
Is that good?
It's not bad. We swam in cenotes, which are underground water caves that are filled with natural spring water, and toured the ruins, and just had the best time. When it was all over, I don't know if any of you who have gotten married have ever had this happen, but when it was all said and done and we got home, both Alyssa and I fell into like depression, and we were both extremely sad that it was all finished and done with, and kind of nothing to look forward to. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we just really wished that we could go back and be with everybody and kind of relive that moment, because we had such a good time. What helped us get out of it is shortly after, like 3 weeks after we got married, we went to Tiburon, which is right outside of San Francisco across the bay, for a wine festival. We got to meet up with a bunch of friends, some who had been at the wedding and live in California, and some others. That was a ton of fun as well. We got a little bit drunk, and they had a silent auction at this wine festival, and the silent auction was winding down. Melissa and I were kind of walking around looking at what we might be able to swoop in and buy in our, you know, inebriated state. And we ended up buying a trip for 2 to Bali for 8 days and 7 nights. We knew we were going to be planning a real honeymoon, and we wanted to do something in Asia, and you know, we figured, why not do Bali? And there was this trip for sale. We swooped in, we were looking at it. It was pretty expensive. And while we were standing there, the auctioneer walked up and asked us if we were thinking about bidding. And we commented that we thought it was a little expensive right now. And he pointed at a much lower price and goes, what if I gave it to you for that price? And Alyssa and I looked at each other, and at the same time both said, sold. And so that's how we ended up buying a trip for 2 to Bali. That gives us something just incredibly fun to look forward to. We're hoping to do that in May. We're working with a travel agent right now, and we want to add going to Japan on the front end of that. So if any of you have been to Japan and have recommendations, please send them my way. So I know that was a lot to take in, but that's been what's happening in my life over the last 2 months. If you'd like to stay up to date on all things Myriad, please visit our Facebook page, and I will see you next month to talk about July.